Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show Looking Back With, sponsored by Jade Bell, Her Game 2, and Facebook sponsor DJ Private Hire. Joining us tonight for our Looking Back With is James Curtis. James, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
You're welcome. Finally got around to getting on the show, to be fair. Been pestering us for months, haven't you?
It's a funny one, actually, because I know it's the first time you've been on the show, but it feels like you've been on many occasions before, because I think it was 3 or 4 shows in a row where literally the end question is the funniest story, and every time it was your name mentioned. So I feel like you have been on the show in some ways.
A bit too much pressure on there now, isn't it? So it'll probably be the worst ratings ever tonight.
So what we're going to do is going through kind of your days at Gateshead, and not spending at the end as well. But just start with the early days before you moved to Gateshead. Around the youth football, was it kind of just playing with your mates on the league, or was it kind of any chance of going pro at that time?
Well, I was at Middlesbrough School of Excellence when I was probably 13 or 16, but I just played local football for Hilda Park in Chesley Street. Mm-hmm. And I was originally a midfielder because I wasn't as tall. I didn't grow till I was like 18-year-old, really. So I was at the School of Excellence, but I didn't really have much hope of anything, really anything. So kind of after Hilda Park days, I went to Harrington Juniors, and we had a really good junior team from like when I was 16 to 18 kind of thing, and kind of swept the board with trophies and that at that age. Moved to a sweeper role when I was at Harrington Juniors, and kind of stayed back there ever since, really. So after Harrington Juniors, the manager at the time, Stewie Wormley, he kind of went to Kennet Gribe, which is Sunderland RCA now, and took us there when I was 18 to play men's football, centre half, and just kind of went from there, really. I had a year and a half at Kennet Gribe and absolutely loved it. Like, loved the lads. Got a real taste for non-league football. I say really there. I lived, like, I'm a Sunderland lad, so I lived 5 minutes from the ground, and just like I said, like the older players there, just like love being around them, kind of thing, and love learning from them, and love playing. And like I said, season half there, and then I signed for Washington when they played back at Albany Park. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't tell you what year that was now. Maybe it's around 2000-ish, really, just before maybe. And the same again, class teammates, like brilliant atmosphere, great changing room. And then the early 2000s, when I think I was 20 when I signed for Gateshead. Derek Bell contacted us originally when he was manager at Gateshead, and it took kind of a bit of time for it to happen. I think he contacted us during the season, but I wanted to hang on till the end of the season before I really did anything. I didn't want to leave Washington at the time. We were doing quite well in the Northern League, First Division. I think we finished our highest ever place, kind of thing. So I kind of didn't want to leave at that point. And it came back around the end of the season, got in contact with us, and I think it was at the time like called Rob Jones moved from Gateshead. He was massive, like centre half. Went to Stockport County in the Football League, I think, and they were just looking for a replacement for him, kind of thing. And that's how the Gateshead move kind of came about from there.
Excellent. Like you say, joining Gateshead, the Northern Premier, First Division 6, and promoted. And obviously, the early days of Gateshead, like you said, playing the Northern League at such a young age, you grow so quick. And obviously, when you go to Gateshead, the players like Paul Thompson there, was it all about kind of the first kind of season or so, just showing who you are and trying to establish yourself in that first team?
Yeah, well, I think Tomo is a good friend of mine. He always tells the story when I first signed with Gateshead, and obviously he'd been at the club for a while, well known at the club. Went on to be the regular goal scorer, etc. And then he always says that someone told him on holiday, he was in Malia at the time, and someone told him like this big, tall, ginger centre half was signed. 20-year-old, like meant to be pretty good. Then the next day or two, he saw me staggering down the streets of Malia. I was over there with my mates at the time as well, and also that was his first encounter with me. I was staggering down the streets of Malia, he reckons. Maybe he's crawling on all fours at the time, but he says that's his lingering memory of the first time he met us. It's like, I'm sure that's James Curtis there, who signed for Gateshead this year, who's meant to be like a good player. But yeah, that was his first meeting with me. So in Malia, but I can't really remember, to be honest. Like, so I'll take his word for it though.
And like you say, the time between 04-07 in the Northern Premier League, all about just trying to establish the club in that division. 17, a couple of mid-table finishes as well. But for those first years, obviously at the club, could you tell obviously who the real characters were, and obviously in the training room, how good was it for yourself at that time?
Yeah, great. Again, like when I went to Gateshead, lads there were unbelievable, and like you say, we were kind of lingering around the Unibond at that time. But for me, it was just trying to keep progressing in my career.
Yeah.
Like I went from RCA to Washington, which was a progression for me, and then it was a progression to go to Gateshead. But I instantly loved Gateshead. 20 minutes down the road for me, 25 minutes or whatever to get there. And the lads were great. When we were like Tomo, unbelievable, and Bowser and all, and Ben Catnat, and like lads like that, who were just really good players in my eyes, and like ex-pro, like you start to play with a few ex-pros then as well, and learn off them as well. So yeah, it was a good like step for me to go up to that level, and like I was by no means a finished article of being a footballer. I was still learning those, and I learned a lot from them at the time, and about positional play, about how to defend, about attitude, and like kind of the higher you go, you learn a bit more from people. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was really good at such a young age still to get involved in such a big club, playing with better players and learning from them. Yeah,
definitely. Like I say, it just got better and better. The 2007-8 season, obviously playoff winners beating Buxton 2-0, massive crowd there. Bogey in charge, great squad. I mean, some great players like Brayson playing, obviously Gate as well, who both scored on that time. What was that season like, and obviously what was that day like for yourself and the club to win promotion?
Yeah, class. So like the first season I signed for Gateshead, it was kind of a restructure in the leagues, and we ended up getting promoted. Like the top half of the league, kind of from first to 12th, we went up. So the Unibond Premier, and like I said, we had a few dodgy seasons in there, and it was tough going. But we had like good local lads, and then it's like you say, we got like Gatey and that, and Baxter, Philly Cave, like they obviously came from Newcastle, and that was the first time that we like had some real like quality players like kind of dropped down to our level, if you like. And obviously Brassy, Brayson, who just scored goals for fun. We had a really, really good mix of players then. It's like, for me, if you're a successful team, it's like the team spirit, the change room's like the main thing of that. It always will be. Like if you've got a good mix in that change room, who get on with each other, who fight for each other, and want to win together. That's the main thing. But that season was class. Yeah, I think went into the playoffs, but I think it was Witten, maybe, who finished second, and they were like a really, really good team at the time, we thought. So I think the second played sixth, so they played Buxton at Witten, and we just thought that was like a gimme for Witten, really, because I think they might have finished like 25 points ahead of them or something like that. And who did we play? I can't remember who played in the memory. It's a long time ago for me, like this, and I've had so many balls, I just can't remember, you know. But yeah, we come off the pitch, won our game, and we were like, oh, they were like, "Oh, Buxton's beat Witton." We were like, "Well," so we had a home tie against Buxton, but then it brings a different kind of pressure because you meant to like you're the favourites now, you kind of thing at home, and it was a tough game. Yeah, it was a really tough game. I remember, I think, it got recorded like on cassette or something like that. So it was that long ago, or maybe it's the first ever DVD. But I remember we watched it back on the Gateshead bus once because Phil Turnbull reckoned he got man of the match, so someone brought the DVD on the bus, and literally it was terrible. Like, I just thought this is a terrible game of football, and how Phil Turnbull got man of the match, I will never know. Like, the ball was just above his head all the time. He was like, it was bouncing over his head. Like, it was hilarious. And then he got took off after about 70 odd minutes. And we were like laughing our heads off, saying, how did you actually get man of the match there? But yeah, I mean, in terms of result, brilliant. And then the celebrations after, just like tops it off really. So you get to celebrate with the supporters and your mates and management and everything. It's just, there's no better feeling really than getting promotion. And the playoffs probably the best way to do it, I would say. So yeah, that was a fantastic season for us.
Oh, brilliant! And even though that you were stepping up going to Conference North with the club, the players, the manager, were you still kind of full of confidence? Like, look, we can actually take this even higher going into that season.
Well, you know, like, even still at this day, like the promoted teams who come up from the leagues always tend to do well, even like in the first season, like even the stand, like where we're playing now, like they're always, because they're on, like, they're in form. There's probably hasn't been much change around the club. They know each other. They're on a kind of crest of a wave kind of thing. So the promoted teams always seem to do well, and we kind of just carried that on the next year with a couple of changes here and there. But like the core of the squad, the core of the team's still there. And we just went with that momentum really. And the big thing was signing Lee Novak at the time in the Conference North. I can't remember how the deal came about. I think it came from Blue Star or something, Newcastle Blue Star. But we had a great team. But like, he just like sealed the deal for us really. He came in and just hit the ground running. Just, we never looked back from that day really. Just scored goals for fun. I remember, I think he got signed in January. Maybe he's off Huddersfield. Maybe he's Lee Clark went there off the top of my head. But he came back on loan to us.
Yeah.
Like loaning back to the rent, and that like, if that never happened, we probably wouldn't have got promoted really. So yeah, that was a massive thing that season.
Definitely, and in the huge game, obviously Gateshead won 12-0. I mean, what a day that was! Even bigger crowd. Phillips get the 82nd minute winner, and obviously, how good was that again after the promotion where the club at that point even saying, "Well, we can actually maybe get to the Football League." At this point, was that how confident the lads were?
Definitely, but that was like a big stepping stone for everyone really, because then you're going up against full-time teams when you went up when it was conference back then, and like the Conference North back in them days, I don't think it would have had many full-time teams like it does now really. Like, there's a few full-time teams in there now, but I don't think it did back in the day. So making that step was a big step. I think the first season we stayed part-time, and we ended up staying up on goal difference on that first season. I think the final game we played AFC Wimbledon, if I'm right, and I can't remember who we were down there with, but we won our game 1-0 on that last day. Daryl Clare, who was class, like ex Football League player, he came in, scored some vital goals for us. He scored the only goal of that game, so we beat AFC Wimbledon 1-0, and then we were like celebrating at the end, but not knowing that the other game was still going on, and we were actually relegated that, like, in the relegation zone that time. But then the other team scored against our rivals and kind of knocked them in the and then it finished like that. So we stayed up on goal difference in the end. But that was like probably just as good an achievement actually getting promoted to that league, really, in those days. So yeah, it was a great, and then obviously went full time the year after that, and then you lose some of your players who obviously got jobs.
Yeah.
I remember Graham Armstrong, who had done really well for Gateshead, scored some really better goals. He was a teacher at the time and wasn't going to give that job up, kind of thing. So you lose some of your friends, some of your teammates, but then you get other players you attract players of a different kind who want to like still in full-time football kind of thing. So it's a kind of you win and you lose in a way. So yeah, it was good that first season to stay up, and then kind of progress from there.
Definitely. Before we get the conference days, I want to say a massive thank you for that watching so far and then hitting double figures already. Really appreciate your support as always. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button as well. And any comments, get them in and we'll get them read out also. And just getting back to the conference days, and I think it's kind of looking at Gateshead back then and even now, kind of, it's always been kind of local lads from the area. Obviously, players coming in from Newcastle after being released. And do you think that's why it's kind of the main difference, because the lads are from the area and they just seem to get it a bit more and wanted that extra bar as well?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's what it's all about. I mean, obviously, as you go up through the leagues, you're going to attract players from other parts of the country, but you've still got to have that mix. We still had a really good like local lads in those days at Gateshead, and I kind of think it's like that for Gateshead now as well. You know what I mean? So they're doing successful again. So yeah, definitely you need that core of local lads. And with players getting released from clubs, I always find it's hit and miss with that as well. You know, like some of them probably think they should be playing higher still, but those lads like Gatey and Cavey and Baxter, they were like proper Geordie lads. Like they just like came down, just like you knew straight away that they were going to be like an asset for the club. Whereas you can see sometimes that some lads might not want to be there as much, and then you don't get as much out of them. But they played for years at Gateshead and gave great service to the club, and that's what it's all about attitude, really. Even in the young lads, and like you say, you can tell straight away who's going to kind of make it and who maybe's not going to. So.
Really good, isn't it? Yeah, and say like between 2009 up to 2013, you could see the clubs finishing higher and higher in the league, FA Cup runs as well. I mean, that time with the club, obviously behind the scenes, was it kind of just making the club stable at that level, and then hopefully then maybe pushing on it further year.
Definitely, like Ian Bogie was class. Mm-hmm. Him and Terry Mitchell brought us up through and obviously it changed when Graham Wood came as the chairman, and had put a lot of his money into the club as well. So that first season was vital, staying in the league, and then we kind of grew and kind of established ourselves as a conference team. And yeah, it's fortunate enough I haven't been relegated like in my career. So that's kind of a thing that I'm quite proud of as well, you know. So we managed to although we didn't finish high up in the league, we definitely progressed each year, really, and grew stronger. And being full time helped because we were able to compete a bit better. I remember when our first season, when we got promoted to the conference, we played away at Kettering, and they had a really good team. And we'd travel down on a Tuesday, so we were part time. So I'd work the next day. And we got absolutely pummeled. We were 3-0 down. I think it was the second. I don't know, the first game of the season, but we were 3-0 down. The second game of the season, the fans were like, all you could hear them was like, "Oh yeah, enjoy getting up for work in the morning." We had a 5-hour journey home. I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a hard slog.
Yeah.
It's and in that first year, it was, to be fair, the travelling was really hard. We had Eastleigh away on a Tuesday night. How that came about, I cannot remember, but that was ridiculous. We didn't get back to 5:30 in the morning for that, and I was up for work 8 o'clock in the morning. That was just pure zombie in the morning. So yeah, it was tough to travelling. But like that first season was vital, and then I think we definitely built on and got stronger. Which going full time did help, but yeah, we'll definitely establish ourselves in that league really.
And up to this point, obviously around 2013, where we are at the moment, by this time you must have had about 8 different managers counted as a player at Gateshead. I mean, at that point when new managers coming in, new ideas, wanting to bring new players in, did you see that as a challenge? Right, I've got to improve myself again and go that next step further to show them what I can do at that point.
I think it always is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we knew Borgs as an assistant manager, so we obviously knew him. But sometimes, people come in, you don't know them, so you have to prove yourself. Really, they've probably heard about you, they probably know who you are, but they haven't really seen your day in and out, day out, your character, like your attitude, like what you bring to the club, kind of thing. So you definitely have to prove yourself. I felt as though I did. It's the same with managers. It's the same when new players come in as well in your position. You take that. You need to kind of up your game, because sometimes you might find yourself getting a bit comfortable. Especially like for me, being at the clubs like for such a long time, really. Sometimes you need that to kind of up your game as well, because you become part of the furniture. You like I say, you're pretty comfortable there, but the change in managers definitely I feel as though I've progressed and improved through I'd probably improved more in my 30s than I did in my 20s, really. And still this day, I still think I always learn. I'm still learning, really. Even though I've played non-league football for 23 years or something like that. So you've always got to just try and push yourself that little bit more. But like I say, we did have quite a few managers in that time at Gateshead, but I feel as though I gave everything for all of them, and you get on with some better than others. But I definitely feel as though I always give more than I could for every one of them, really. So yeah, it is a bit of a challenge, and it does push you a bit more. But like I says, with people coming in as well in your position, you've got to keep impressing people and trying to always do your best.
Oh, definitely. Comment coming in there from Desi. Even Desi, great guest that we had on a few weeks ago. Ginger Van Dyke, legend. That's from Desi, Scunny fan.
That's my nickname for now,
And getting on to the 2013-14 season, and Gary Mills obviously in charge, and from the outside looking at, obviously I used to always look on the Gateshead side, looking at all football teams, absolutely love the non-league scene, and it just seemed it was just being slightly different where the club were, right, now we want this promotion, and Gary coming in, things changing. It was a tough league. Obviously, I know Luton ran away with these, but how good was that season to finish in the playoffs with so many good teams that year?
Yeah, unbelievable. Like the teams, like you said at the time, your Cambridge, your Wrexhams, Luton Town. There was some big clubs in there, Grimsby, but when it just seemed to click straight away when Gary Mills come in. He obviously been really successful at York, so we knew kind of his style of play, because York when they got promoted, they were class as well. Yeah. Didn't necessarily have all the big name players, but just as teams go and how they played, they were brilliant, really, really good. So he kind of came in, him and Darren Caskey, and it just clicked straight away. Like I said, I can't remember who we played in the first game, the home game. But literally, we trained that week, and he come in. He gave us a bit of A4 paper. Says this is how we're going to play 4-3-3. It just give you in your role what you need to do, how we're going to play. Wasn't bothered about the opposition. So whereas other managers might have went into a lot of detail about opposition, he was couldn't give a monkeys about who we're playing. We play this way against every team. these are your jobs. Kind of, he had so 4-3-3, but he would like have one sitting midfielder, two more advanced in the front three, and they like them five like had a license to do anything really, kind of thing. He had Phil Turnbull sitting in that deep midfielder role. We had John Oster at the time and all, which was a great sign, and he was just unbelievable. And that first home game, I think we won like 3-0 or something. And we absolutely like passed this team off the park, and it was like unbelievable. He just come in like full time. He was like bloody hell, this is just the best game I've ever watched, kind of thing. And he was just like, from there we just went, and like every game was just like we were a really good team, and like kind of players hit form, and like James Marwood had an unbelievable season that year, and we just had a really good mix on and off the pitch again. So it just seemed to click when Gary Mills came in, and everything kind of snowballed from there. And we came on a kind of, I think we had 10 games left, and he was like, look, we need to win 8 of these last 10. I think we played Barnet away at the time. We need to win 8 of these last 10 or 12, I'm sure it was. And we ended up winning like, I think 9 out of 10 or 11 out of 12 to finish the season. And just like went and finished, I think we finished 3rd in the end, at the end of that season. And kind of just took that momentum into the playoffs as well. We played Cambridge on the last game of the season. I think we beat them 2-0 our place, but I know they kind of rested a few because they were already of secure in their space, kind of thing. But then those 2 playoff games against Grimsby at the time were just like class, like the atmosphere. I remember we played the away leg at Brunel Park, and like that is a hostile like place. Like they are not friendly people down that part of the country. And like we scored first, obviously went 1-0 up, and they equalised a couple of minutes before half time, and it was absolutely rocking. And I remember like it's one of the moments of my career I thought, bloody hell, this is tough. This is a tough ask for us now. Like it was absolutely like bouncing the place. And we kind of like held out, and we got a 1-1 draw at the first. Then the second leg at home, like literally sold the stadium out. Really, I think it was about 11,000 there or something like that. So that was an unbelievable occasion as well. One, I can't remember whether it was 3-1 in the end, maybe it was, or something, I don't know. But I remember Marwood scoring a couple. They had a man sent off, I think. But yeah, unbelievable scenes in that playoff, and like definitely one of the best days of my career and the best seasons of my career. That season, played really well that year, and we were just unfortunate in the final. Really, never really got going. It was just one of those days we'd played so well to get there, and kind of we didn't really play well until we were 2-0 down. So it was one of my best days of my career, but also one of my worst days of my career that day. So yeah, so I look back on now and really proud. But yeah, it was just that was my one chance really to get in the Football League. Looking back, so it was a bit of good and a bit of bad.
Yeah, and it was watching it like heartache, even just watching on as a fan as well. And like you said, just the whole North East was just behind the club, hoping to get at the Football League, which would have been absolutely fantastic. And what a way, like you say, the playoffs always hard to lose in as well, isn't it?
Definitely, especially Wembley as well. The one time I've played there, and it was a great day, like I said, but I was like absolutely devastated at the end of the game, being in the club so long, and then it was just like having all my family and friends there down watching us. They were like, I was proper good at like.
And just before we get to leaving Gateshead and obviously spending now, I've got to mention the partnership with yourself and Ben Clark as well. Absolutely fantastic between. I know I watched a couple of games. I think it was the FA Cup run that was on the BBC, and I just remember the ball getting passed out from the back. Kind of the first time really seen it as well. It was just fantastic, yourself and Ben. I mean, how good was that partnership for yourself?
Class, yeah, really good. Like best centre half I've played with Clarky. Like, to be fair, and he'd come from Hartlepool. And like kind of opposites had come together kind of thing. He'd played so much higher, and I'd like come through, but it was just like perfect. Learned so much of him, and he was just like, he's just such a class bloke. We had a great rivalry in training because obviously we'd always be on opposite teams, being centre halves, and like I'd probably say training wise, I won 90% of those games, you know, and then 90% of the time he lost his head and stormed off, you know. So it was like it was class crack. He's a great bloke, and he was a class footballer as well. He's done loads for Gateshead, and he's still there now, you know. So the partnership was perfect. He played on the left, I played on the right. We were both comfortable on the ball, and that really helped the team. That you had like two football and centre halves, really, which is kind of how the game is now as well. So that's kind of how it's moved on. And like when Gary Mills came in and said, "This is how we want to play. We want you go and get the ball all the time." We were like, right, okay, then that's like suits us. And then you could pass to anyone that team. Like you've got your full backs who can play, like Phil Turnbull, Chans. Where you give it to Twinney or John Oster anywhere on the pitch, and then that's what you need. Like they'll just take the ball anywhere and play on from there, you know. So it was great. But like Clarky, like the partnership we had for so many years. The only shame we like grew old at the same time, kind of thing. And that was the problem. Probably in our last year, we were both like in our early 30s. And kind of one of us had to really go, kind of thing. So unfortunately, that was me. And I was like devastated when I got released from Gateshead. And Neil asked me at the time, it wasn't the way I really wanted to leave. There was like no inclination that they wanted to really get rid of us. So I thought, well, probably he's going to get another season here, kind of thing. But then got called in the office in May after the season finished, and he was like, right, no, we're letting you go now. And I was like, didn't take it great. Would have rather like had a bit of time to kind of say that I was going, kind of thing, and leave in a better way. It kind of just finished like click of your fingers, gone. But in that way, the chairman looked after us and gave us a job, kind of thing, in the community. So I'll be grateful for them for doing that. But like I said, it was kind of either or, really, me or Clarky. I would probably say they couldn't really keep us both on. And I was devastated at the time, but it's like worked out great in the end, like to prolong my career, really. Going part-time's probably helped us play a few more years, you know what I mean? Not as much stress on the body, training every day. So it's probably been good for me in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I got his promoted to the Football League. I was you and Clarky centre back. I got his League 2 on Football Manager. So we set the back partnership.
You should have managed us at Wembley then, right?
Evening, Craig. Go on, James Curtis, mate. He legends. Great watching.
Cheers, pal. Remember Craig back in the Gateshead days? I was meant to say to Desi earlier. I meant to say to Desi, I was. You'll get wrong off Peggy Mitchell for texting behind the bar in the Queen Vic, you know what I mean? So,
and you mentioned obviously leaving Gateshead, and obviously even just before that, a couple of seasons after Play of Heartache, getting so close the next couple of seasons in there. But like you say, leaving in May 2016 after 596 appearances. I mean, so close to 600. You just.
I would have loved to get 600. To be fair, like looking back. Just needed 4. I think. I could have got 4 easily somewhere down the line. Then I'm proud of playing that amount of games and being there for for so long. Like, so yeah, it is one of my best achievements. That.
And Spenny comes along, and Spenny was always a great club on the up at the time, and joining there, your debut season, managers player, players player, and obviously beating Northwich and Stourbridge and promotion to the Conference North, FA Cups as well. How good was that promotion season for that first season? Sorry, at Spennymoor.
Oh, it was like unbelievable. Yes, like obviously me, Ramshaw and Chandler went there at the same time, and they already had a really, really good team. And like I say, I think Blythe won the league that year, but we got in the playoffs, and we were just really good. Like, and the Stourbridge were a good team as well at the time, so we had a couple of good battles with them during the season. But yeah, we were fortunate that we had home advantage in the playoffs, and we managed to just sneak through. I think there was a couple of scary moments in the second half where Dan Lowson's pulled up a couple of good saves. But yeah, that was a great season to start my Spennymoor career, really. And like it again, best way to win through the playoffs and to get promoted to the Conference North, and then like we did with Gateshead in the conference, kind of try to establish ourselves in the Conference North as well, really. So yeah, it was a great start for us.
Yeah, and was it an easy decision to join Spenny at the time?
Well, there's a funny story because I was really close to signing for Darton at the time. Martin Gray was the manager, and Phil Turnbull was at Darton at the time. And I bet all the Darlow fans probably glad that I didn't sign because they hate us now anyway. So, but yeah, so I'd spoke to Martin Gray and kind of literally very, very close. I tried to ring him back to say, yeah, that I'm happy with what I'd spoke to Jason as well at Spennymoor, and I'd kind of rang Jason back and said, look, I want to stay as high as I can because Darton were in the Conference North at the time and Spenny were in the league below. And I was like, nothing. I got offered a better deal from Spenny. And I was like, I just want to play as high as I can, like just drop down the one league from the conference. And I couldn't get back. So I told Jason Ainsley that, and then I couldn't get back in touch with Martin Gray. He was just like no phone calls back or anything. Then eventually got in contact with me. He was like, oh, we'll sign another centre half. I was like, right. I'm going to have to send Jason Ainsley a text here now. So I was like, hi, Jason. And then he texts back, I know what you're going to say here. And I was like, is that offer still on the table? And he was like, aye, of course it is. So it worked out for the best in the end, really. So yeah, I've been like lucky in a way that's happened, and I've had such a good few years at Spennymoor.
Definitely. Say the FA Cup against MK Dons, and then since then life in the Conference North, FA Trophy quarterfinals. You just seem to be kicking on and kicking on. And obviously the playoff heartache against Chorley. I mean, have you just, like you say, you touched on there, you're loving your time at Spennymoor. Do you think it's just, as you say, as a club as well, growing year by year as you've been there?
Definitely. I mean, I came to Spenny and like I was like blown away for how professional it was for a part-time club.
Definitely.
And that's like down to the people at the club and Leachy, the kit man. He was just like brilliant, and like some things that I didn't have at Gateshead, you got at Spenny, like kind of thing. So it was like that helped because I was like thinking about my mind, I'm going to drop down the leagues and it's not going to be as kind of professional. That like my standards are quite high, but it was perfect. Like I was thinking, whoa, this is brilliant here, like, and they couldn't do enough for you, and so that really helped. And again, like the changing room helped, like the lads who were there, and you know, we kind of progressed again, and like you say, we got the playoff final, and where it was always going to be a tough game. Chorley were always like a really good team, and we've had some battles. I think that was my first ever. Oh no, I think we played them maybe in the FA Cup or something when we'd just signed, and they were in the Conference North and we were in the league below, and we'll beat them like at home, 2-1. But we've had like many battles with them over the years, and it was always going to be tough. And they scored, and you think they don't concede many goals, but then obviously the main man Taylor got a goal, and Wes would probably used our luck in the Bratley game in the semi-final with regards to penalties. We didn't quite have that rub of the green in the Chorley game, and my mate Rob Ramshaw missed another penalty, so he'll never live that down.
And Craig's mentioned there, good luck for the season, Curtis, mate. Come on, Spenny as well. Like
Cheers,
say,
pal.
new deal in the summer, new manager in Channel, obviously go from teammate to manager. How have you found that, and what's your kind of aims for the season after getting another cracking win last night?
He's just like made for the role, Chan, like coaching wise and personality wise, just like the perfect fit for Spenny, really. And it hasn't been like weird at all. I think he's just fit in that role really well. Obviously had his time with Jason last year, just as assistant, and kind of we were like hoping that he would get the job, not just because he's our mate, but just because we think he's like a perfect fit, like in terms of recruiting players that we've recruited really well over the summer. In terms of training's like outstanding. I know because Chandler's got like such high standards like I have, so I know that like things will be really good on that aspect on the field in training. And like he just lives and breathes football, whereas I'm not like kind of coaching wise. I'm probably not into it that much. I love playing and I love being around the place, but he's just like the perfect fit and started really well. Banbury away, like I didn't play that game and won. And then the game I did play, we got beat off Tamworth 4-1. No, I didn't play last night. So I think there's a bit of kind of theme going on here. So, but yeah, I'm like at the stage of my career now where I want to, like, I feel as though I've always been relied on to come in and play. And, I've played 40, 50 games for a season for like I say, my whole career. I've never really had touch wood, never really had a bad injury. But like, I want players to come through now, and I don't want to be like relied upon to have to play every game kind of thing. And I think we've got a really good, strong. We've made strong signings in defensive areas. Really, we've had obviously Levy set off, who was really good back end of last season. Ledger was brilliant. He's so consistent. Pollock's come in. Polo's have been outstanding. So, and then we've got a couple of young lads, Reese. We've got like good strength and depth now, and I don't feel as though like I have to be relied upon as much, because like maybe I'm going to get some point where I can't play 40 games a season, to be honest. I still feel as though I probably could, but I don't really feel kind of pressure to have to play every game now. I think we've got some good options to play other people, and then I'm not going to play forever as well. I want people to come to the club who want to play for this club for years and take the club forward as well. So like, I don't mind not playing at this point, but I'm always ready and available to play when needed. I'm still training well. I still feel as though I can mix it with the young ones at the moment. So as long as I feel I can train and play, not like the Tamworth game, but yeah, I'll just keep going as long as I can, really.
Yeah, that ties in nicely to the next question. How long do you think you've got in the legs?
I said the chairman, I said the gaffer there, if you want us to play, if you want us to be around, I'll keep playing. As long as I feel as though like I can still compete with everyone, because it is like I'm 41-year-old. This is my over 40 leagues, the Conference North, which is like a very, very tough league. And like I had a bit of a hit miss pre-season. I got a bit of a knock, and then I went on holiday with the family, all inclusive, and so like some people still said my legs were all inclusive when we played that game against Tamworth, But as long as I feel as I can compete with everyone still, I'll keep playing as long as I can, because I love being around the place.
Exactly. And Dan's give you a nice offer there. Daniel says that save your seat now, but on Saturday, free beer available. All we ask for in return is a redemption of Tropicana, Club Got China from yourself. Good offer on the table as well from Dan.
See, I could take that offer up. Like everyone knows, I love a sing song. Like I've like a lot of lads come in and have to do the initiation songs.
Yes, yeah.
I just do like songs every year, because like obviously I was a gator for 13 years, so I only did one there, initiation song, that I've come to spending my way, and then did one there. So I kind of like break the ice for everyone, go to the front of the bus, do a bit of a sing song. Club Tropicana is me go-to song, really. So yeah, I'm available for karaoke's and everything, really, if the price is right.
And before we get on to our final part now, which is the quick fire, I just want to say again, massive thank you everyone that's been watching, getting the comments in, still hitting double figures now, which is absolutely amazing. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and like you say, getting any comments in before we finish, please get them in as quick as you can. As well, we're getting on to the quick fire round, which we're really looking forward to this one. 5 questions that we ask each guest that comes on every time. Start with number 1. I know you've had quite a few. Who would be the best manager that you've worked under, and why would you say?
Terms of Gateshead, definitely Gary Mills, obviously, because that was my most successful year, really, and my highest finish. He was just brilliant, proper old school. Took us for fish and chips on a Friday, so I love that. I love anything like that, like I'm at old school myself, so he was class. But Ian Bogey was brilliant as well. Took us through the leagues. So you're like having such a career. Like I've got like loads, really. You know what I mean? And I always, Jason Ainsley didn't shut that door on us when I needed him, and I had to text him back. So I'll always be grateful. And he always brings that up every now and then. And hopefully Chan will be a good one as well this season. So I've had quite a few, but those really stand out for me.
Excellent. And number 2, really tough on this one. Best teammate that you've played with?
I know, this is like, I dread this one all the time. Like, I think I did my best 11 at Gates, and it took us about 3 weeks to decide on the best 11. But I always say Lee Novak, just for what he did in that Conference North year with the goals and the different types of goals he scored, and he played up there by himself, and he just like run amok, really. And Marcus Madison was unbelievable. Yeah. Like after that playoff season, he came back and he was like a different person. Like, and then he went to Peterborough that year within the first couple of months, because like you couldn't get near him. In training, if you were on his team, you were just winning 7-0. You're like, that's one time I thought, geez, I literally can't. He would go left, right, top corners all the time, no matter what foot. But like, so he was class. But like the likes of Twinney, Phil Turnbull, John Oster, Clarkey, Baxter, all those players. Like there's so many to mention. Then it's Spenny, obviously. Like Ramshaw and Taylor. I would never say Taylor, when I first came to the club, I've definitely made him a better player. I know Jason Ainsley always takes the credit for it, but definitely I've made Glenn a better player off just kicking him a few times in training, and he's just scored like some unbelievable goals as well. And he's just like, even if he's having a bit of an off day, you like always know he's going to score a goal. Like it's just like that type of player now, and he's just like the best in the business in that league easily, and could have went on to higher things and all, but like obviously he had a good job in that and didn't want to give those type of things up, and he's got a young family as well, so it's a perfect fit for him being at Spennymoor. So we're really lucky to have him still around the place. So yeah, Tails will definitely be up there. And Sparky and Chance, like those type of players who've been loyal and I've played with for years, like they always like initially spring to mind. So loads really, but I've had the pleasure of playing with loads of different players, but it's hard to name one really, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, some great players there. And number 3, the best opposition player, possibly for yourself, the best striker that you face, you just could never get the best of.
Well, obviously the big one will be Jamie Vardy when he played at Fleetwood.
Yeah.
So he was just like out and out. I remember he was 10 yards behind us at one point. Just ran. He was like within 30 yards. He was 5 in front of us. So he was obviously on fire that season for Fleetwood, and I think they battered us at their place, but we was really close at our place, and it was he scored. I think they won 1-0, but it was definitely offside. Like there's no way he could have been that far ahead of me in such a short space of time. But I think they went on to win the game 1-0. They were doing, I don't know whether they were passing a coin to each other and all. They were like tapping the mick out of us. So they were like, as they were playing the game, I don't know whether they won the league at the time. They were just like passing the coin, and the person who finished with the coin had to do a forfeit or something. So they're like, they would do like, so that was just making us more angry kind of thing. But yeah, but Lee Gregory, when he was at Halifax.
Oh, yeah.
We always have a joke with Clarty because we played Halifax away, and I think he's at Chef Wed now. But he was classy. Like I think he broke his arm the week before, so he played with this like bit of a cast on, and we were like thinking, oh, he'll be thinking about his arm today, and he absolutely tore me and Clarty apart. And we always like have a laugh and joke saying we had the flu that day, so we weren't really on top form. Like, but he was like definitely one of the best I've played against. So them two kind of stick out for me, really.
And number 4, your best footballer moment so far?
Best footballer moment. It will probably have to be playing at Wembley, really, in the playoff final. So I think it was about 8,000 gates our fans got down. I think it was about 18,000 crowd. But that was definitely like standout in my career. Even though we lost the game, looking back, I'll always be proud of. Not many people get to play there, and like especially the journey I went on as well, being at the club so long. But like I've had a few when we played West Brom away in the FA Cup for Gateshead. We got hammered 7-0, but I'll always remember that game. Like, and with Spenny as well, the Chorley game, the playoff final, and then MK Don's game. We had a bit of a comeback of that game as well. We were 3-0 down after 20 minutes or something, and then we managed to bring it back to 3-2. So loads of really be promotions, win the playoffs. I've got quite good record in the playoffs, so and my appearances really. So for like Gateshead, obviously 5.5. Like I don't know how many I've done at Spennymoor. I would love someone to work out my appearances, because I always like said to Jack Franks, who was like the media guy who did all the stats and that, how many games we played, and he was like, I don't know. I was like, well, I'm not meant to be your job to like actually maybe know how many games people have played, but I must be pushing on 300 games for Spennymoor, I would have thought. I'm not like Glenn Taylor, who's like wrote down every game he's played in his whole entire career and how many goals he scored. That's like way too much work for me. I'd rather someone did it for us. So I would like to know, because like I probably played 60, 70 games for Kennick Rye and then probably the same for Washington. Maybe then I'll probably be up near 1,000. I would say
it must be pushing 1,000. Yeah,
of non-league games. So I would like to know the official figure, but I only really know the official figure of the Gateshead ones. So yeah, that's probably a proud thing of me. So how long I've played and still playing at such a good level, really. So I've got loads to be fair, but yeah, they're the main ones that kind of stand out for us.
Excellent. And the final question, which is quite strange because you're knowing the answer to this one, your funniest football moment or one that you can think of off the top of your head.
And now, like, people have like got such good memories and like they can remember everything that like I've done, and I'm like, how do you like remember what those type of things? And it's like when I'm watching films and that. Once I watch a film, I just totally forget what's happened. But like like every time I go into train, I'm just laughing, and that's why I still like enjoy playing the game. Like, and everyone who knows me, they know I train hard. I'm really competitive. I want to win, but they know they're gonna like have a laughing joke with us. And like in football, I don't know, like football. I'll tell you what. One good thing was with Matthew Gold, who was the keeper at the time.
Yeah.
At Spenny, he'd just come into the club, and he comes driving down the stadium where he used to train at the training ground just around the corner from the stadium. And he comes in this dead old-fashioned Jag, like about 20, 25-year-old or something like that. So as soon as like Ramshaw and Chandler had seen that car, were like starting to walk around. So we had to walk around from the stadium through the streets to get to the training ground. So they all set off, and like we stayed back, took the keys out of Goldie's car. Then they all started training. We like drove. There was like about 5 or 6 of us just packed into his car in this Jag. It was like scraping along the road because there was that much weight in it. Through the streets of Spenny, so we had to cut onto the field. But like all the junior teams are playing as well. So like we had the music blaring in this car. Like I can't remember what song. Ramshaw's driving it. Like us are all squeezed in the back. We're like going down the side of the training pitch, and then come round. Goldie hasn't noticed it by then. And then like we just parked it in front of the goal. And then he starts like he like realised the last thing, and he starts running, and Ramshaw like slowly moving away further and further as he gets closer and closer and closer. And like we're just going parking in a random bit of the field, and like everyone's howling. All the junior teams are thinking, "What's going on here?" Like all the parents are just watching, like from afar, like thinking, "Really? Like this is the first team do?" But like that's what we like. That's why I'm still like involved in football. I love playing the game, but I love the dressing room as well. I like the banter between everyone. All the stories you hear on the buses and that. Like Phil Turnbull just told stories after stories after stories, like about how he played in Dallas one time with Hartlepool. I've heard that story like thousands and thousands of times, but it like never grows old kind of thing. And it's just that's what it's all about, football, really.
Yeah, 100%.
There's probably like too many things to mention, but like I say, I've got a terrible memory, and I'm probably like the worst person to ask about funny stories. I bet you ask anyone at the club the funny stories, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that one now," like kind of thing. But like like I said, a bit of dementia's probably setting in after all the balls I've headed over the years. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so that one stands out. But there's probably a few more, but I just can't remember.
Brilliant, man. No, fantastic. But honestly, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know we've been trying for a while to get you on, so it's been great speaking to you about your great career as well, and hopefully more years to come.
Yeah, you never know. I might be still here next year now.
Aye.
Thanks for having us on, though.
No, not a problem at all. And again, thank you everyone so much for watching. Still above double figures now, which is absolutely amazing as well. But again, tomorrow night, 9:10, with a former Newcastle player interview, Craig Robson, obviously playing the Northern League as well. Coming to talk about his time at Newcastle United. But again, everyone that's been watching, thank you so much. And James, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Cheers, thank you very much. See you later.